Today I'm filming for one of my martial arts centres. We've got this building and we've got next door but one. And next door but one's where we normally film because it's got the ring, the cage wall and some more bags. Here we've only got a few bags, the small cage wall and the kids' bags down the bottom. But I keep getting asked questions about why I keep talking about situational awareness and avoidance, whereas if I teach martial arts, why aren't I talking more about self-defense? Yes, we do teach self-defense, but the main part of what we teach is kids classes. Then we teach kickboxing and Muay Thai, MMA, mixed martial arts, or cage fighting as some people know it, boxing and traditional Kung Fu. I also personally teach Kali Eskrima, which is a Filipino martial art, but I don't teach that in classes. So one of the main reasons I talk about situational awareness is, yes, martial arts can be great for assisting in your self-defense. It's not, typically today's martial arts aren't aimed purely at self-defense. Yes, that's where they originated, but if you look at kickboxing and Muay Thai, for instance, they're very, very effective. They're great punching, striking arts. MMA, you've got that combined with grappling, BJJ and wrestling, and the traditional Kung Fu, you've obviously got the more traditional style of martial art. But their predominant aim now for most martial arts people who come, not everybody, but most, is to enjoy the sport, get some fitness, and maybe compete. But if they're competing in a ring or in a cage with rules, a referee, and all the rest of it. That's not really self-defense. And then if you're teaching pure self-defense classes, what a lot of people do is they only teach the techniques. Now, the huge advantage of something like Muay Thai and MMA is people are actually trying to hit you. They're trying to strangle you. They're trying to make you go unconscious. They're trying to get your arm out so that you have to say, stop, I can't go on. In Muay Thai, they're probably trying to knock you out. So the advantage there is that anyone who comes to a normal class and just does pad work, fine. Anyone who competes is regularly getting hit. They're used to being punched. They're used to taking strikes. When they get a punch on the nose, their eyes will still water, but they won't react to it in the same way. They just, yeah, fine, my turn. So it's a very, very good way of conditioning the mind to fight in that situation. But it's very, very restricted. You wear gloves, you're not allowed eye pokes, bites, throat strikes, anything like that. So it is very different to self-defense. Now with self-defense, my big issue with most self-defense classes, not all, there's some fantastic instructors and I know many. You know, I've been doing martial arts for 50 years. I've come across some fantastic instructors and I've come across some people that I wouldn't put money against in any type of situation. And they're almost untrained. It's just they're fantastic as they walk in the door, but they're few and far between. Now, my objection is with pure self-defense is they'll go through and they'll say, okay, we're going to do this technique and we're going to do this wrist lock and we're going to do this and then we're going to strike the eyes. But it's all very friendly, it's under no pressure. And whereas the Muay Thai or the MMA, even in sparring where people aren't really going hard, they're still putting you under constant pressure, constant pressure, constant pressure. And that makes you react and it builds up different type of motor skill. Now, Eskrima is a little bit different, Kali Eskrima, because you're typically mainly using weapons, not always, but mainly using weapons. And if you put the body armor on, you can use rattan sticks for power, you can use aluminium blades, but obviously you can't use real blades. Interestingly enough, when there was a group that was training with live blades and their biggest injury was when they were training getting the blade knocked out of their hand and it was dropping and going through their foot. there's no, I think that's Darwin's law, isn't it? Something like that. There's no accounting for some kind of stupidity. But it does show you that it's difficult, I think the scenario is, if you train with live blades, people, because you have to go to work the next day, you have to do this, and you don't want to end up in court having just stabbed someone. If you train with live blades, you bring the focus and the pressure right down. If you train with aluminium blades, you can put a bit more effort in, especially if you're wearing glasses. So we wear these plastic eye shields just to stop getting eye pokes. And then if you train with foam weapons or something like that, or a marker pen, something that shows where you've been cut but no injury, then there's a little bit more power, a bit more speed, a bit more effort. But self-defense wise, who wants to be training with these? These are aluminium, well, this one's not, it's steel, but the same type of thing. This is aluminium. So who wants to be training with these and then having to get up and be an accountant the next day and go to work? It just doesn't make sense. It's not possible. It's two different types of objectives. So with these, we'll show technique, and we'll do drills against each other, we'll do disarms, but you're not going to be smacking it full power in someone's face, even though it's nice and blunt. But I'm not going to smash that in someone's face because I'm going to cause them serious injury. Whereas if it was a foam or a marker, then I can do it, because all I'm going to do is leave a pen mark. So, after all that explanation, why situational awareness rather than self-defense? Self-defense is a difficult thing to learn. You need to learn some principles. Yes, some techniques, but techniques get forgotten. I'd rather teach someone some principles, some basic principles of what to do. You then need to pressure test that. And you need to train it often enough that it's part of your muscle memory. So that under pressure, when the adrenaline's pumping, you feel sick, you don't know whether to fight or flight, you need to react the right way. And that requires so much. It requires mental training, it requires physical training, and it requires muscle memory and reactions that have to be built up with experience and practice. Situational awareness is saying, I'm going to teach you some principles so you don't get in that situation. I learn to identify risk, I learn to manage those risks, and I avoid confrontation. That could be by a skill such as talking people out of it, as well as not being there. The first thing is don't be there. The second thing is talk it down. And the third thing is self-defense. But self-defense is not as easy as people think. People go on a self-defense course and say, I've learnt defences against punches, kicks, strangles, knife attacks. And say, how long was the course? 2 days. It was great. It was all day Saturday, 10 till 3, all day Sunday, 10 till 3. It's like, how much are you going to remember that when you're under severe pressure, when your body reacts chemically to the adrenaline, you're frightened, you may be frightened for the person you're with, it becomes very, very difficult. And I'm not saying self-defense is pointless, obviously it's not. I teach it a lot, but it's not easy. Situational awareness is my preferred method, because especially in corporate world, because who in the corporate world wants their people, to go away and train and come back with, maybe a bloody nose, a black eye, maybe a broken finger? It's not feasible. I've worked in large organisations, and that would be stopped after 1 hour, or maybe 5 minutes even. It wouldn't go on for weeks, I can tell you that. So it's horses for courses. Learn situational awareness, learn the principles of it, learn how to implement it. If you then want to go on and learn self-defense, commit to it, but it's going to take you a long time. You're not going to be able to fight effectively in a couple of hours training. bear in mind, the person you're fighting, if they're a street thug, they've probably been doing it since they were probably about 12 years old. Most days of the week, most weeks of the year. If they're now 25, they've probably been in prison, they don't care about carrying knives, maybe firearms, and they're more than happy to stab you, they're more than happy to go to prison again. That's probably not your world, and you don't want it to be your world. So learn situational awareness. So that's my reason of why I say situational awareness rather than self-defense. Self-defense, I prefer to teach people who have all of this. You know, it's like a continuum. If you've got all of this and you're just learning that little bit on the end, then it's feasible. But don't not do all of this. That's the bit that's going to keep you safe.